Have you ever noticed how weddings seem to be geared exclusively towards people who are rampant extroverts? But what if your dad's superpower is more building the ceremony arbour than walking towards it with 100 sets of eyes trained on him? Today, I want to help you to figure out how your delightfully introverted dad can still fulfill an important role on your wedding day without ever stepping his foot into that dreaded spotlight. We're going to kick off with some reframing of expectations because sometimes, I get it, it's hard to imagine anything different from what we've seen in movies and what our friends' dads have done before us. And then I'm going to share some brilliant ways to gently broach the topic with dad so he and you don't die of embarrassment. Very important. And finally, I've got some possibly unconventional, but I believe genius ways that a dad who is not the life of the party could contribute to a wedding day while still keeping his jocks dry. And I'm pretty confident that there'll be some ideas here that you might not have even considered. Because let's be honest, not all heroes wear tuxedos, and some are just fine lurking beside the dessert table. So let's get stuck into it. Unbridely is a community of pro-wedding vendors who believe in freedom and integrity in weddings, giving you options, solutions, tips and tricks to create the experience and memories that you and your fiancé really want and deserve. Because we believe that weddings are a team sport. With how-tos, stories and interviews with recently married couples, we find out what went right and what they'd change if they could go back and do it all over again. I'm Camille and welcome to the Unbridely podcast. Okay, as promised, we're going to reframe some expectations. And, it's important to get this out of the way really early because weddings generally, have some pretty lofty and sometimes awkward expectations of dads. It's as if every father out there is supposed to be an accomplished ballroom dancing, battle-tested stand-up comic and public speaking professional all rolled into one. Sorry, but not all dads are ready for their Hollywood moment under the disco ball, and they never will be. Let's be honest, many dads, especially introverted ones, would rather handle the lights, tune the sound, make sure the props are just set right, quietly ensuring things run smoothly, than stand front and centre in front of everyone. I don't want to overgeneralise, but there is definitely a cohort of dads who feel immense pride in making things happen behind the scenes, but then they'll squirm when they're handed a mic or they're asked to deliver a meaningful toast. For them, being asked to perform can feel unnatural and completely overwhelming, even if it's for something as joyful as their child's milestone, their child's wedding. It isn't a lack of love or commitment. It's just a preference for meaningful action over visible applause and approval, admiration, etc. And just like in the theatre, the person backstage can be just important to the show's success, maybe even more so. So when it comes to the father-daughter dance, for some dads, just stepping onto the dance floor without tripping is quite enough of an achievement for them. Those traditional roles in a wedding for a father often come with a heap of social pressure, and perhaps even more so for introverted dads. Maybe it's the walk down the aisle, that teary-eyed speech, or being the unofficial conga line leader during the reception. If the thought of any of these makes your dad suddenly consider needing to get something from the car that he forgot, I wanted to start by saying it's so perfectly okay for him to feel this way. And it's great if you're able to let him know that you understand why and how he feels and that it's okay with you too. Because they don't need to force themselves into traditions that don't work for them. You can start by helping your dad to pinpoint which parts of your wedding day feels exciting and which ones trigger the I'd rather be home mowing the lawn kind of response. because it's all about understanding their comfort zone. And by identifying and acknowledging what feels uncomfortable for them, you're already laying the foundation for a wedding, a celebration that's meaningful, not just for you, of course, not just for your fiance, but for dad as well. And hopefully everyone's sharing in the day too, because when dad's not uncomfortable, then your guests won't be uncomfortable watching your uncomfortable dad. Does that make sense? So, next, we're going to be communicating the boundaries with your dad. There are times when we can imagine our wedding day filled with all those classic moments, the ones that we're told are meant to happen. So, dad is by our side, he's smiling in every photo, he's looking so proud and nailing his speech like a seasoned pro. But then, the more you think about it, you can really start to work out that the best celebrations are the ones, as I said, where people feel comfortable and can be themselves. And this is the thing with being comfortable as well. When one person feels uncomfortable, it can be like a domino effect because it's awkward watching someone be awkward, It's contagious. So this means trying to find different ways for dad, especially those who are not the life of the party or could be a little bit introverted, a bit shy. We want them to feel genuinely unconcerned and yet involved. So if you'd love your dad to be part of your wedding day, but he's not the type to just jump into a bag of fruit and deliver a comedy routine to a packed hall, you're not alone. My dad was very much the same with our wedding. And in my opinion, some of the most meaningful moments aren't always the loudest or the most visible. Because sometimes, no, a lot of the time, they're in the simple things, like a quiet word just before you're announced, a hug just before the ceremony, or even just knowing he's there as you're getting ready. You don't have to have a reveal, a first look with your dad in front of the photographer in a situation that he's just not comfortable in. Just his presence might be enough for you and for him. So here's how you can open up and invite a conversation and make sure that dad knows he's valued without saddling him with a role that he'll absolutely dread. So if you start with an opening like, hey, dad, can we have a chat? You sit down. You go, okay, dad, we really want you to enjoy and feel comfortable on our wedding day. So I'm wondering, are there any parts of the wedding that make you feel nervous? Or are there things you'd prefer not to do? It absolutely opens it up for him to be able to pinpoint the things that he might not love being a part of. The next part is acknowledging his feelings. Try not to discount what he says. Let him know that, if he says it's the speeches or it's the father-daughter dance, if he says the speeches and the dance isn't his thing, then please reassure him that being there, being present means so much to you and that there is no pressure to fit a particular mold. So once you've identified it, you've said, look, that's okay. Explore the alternatives together. And in a moment, I'm just going to go through a few ways that most dads can demonstrate their connection and love for you in ways that perhaps aren't traditional. And then, of course, express that you appreciate his openness. Something like, it honestly means more to me to share this day with you in a way that works for both of us, even if it means it's something a little less traditional, like a quiet moment together or a job that only you can help with. And of course, this isn't a one and done conversation. This is an ongoing conversation, checking in with him as the months grow closer, because of course things might change as the plans take shape and relatives start to talk about how excited they are about attending. Your dad's perception of his role might change too. So try and keep that conversation open and remind him that there's no wrong way to show his love and support, and that the old-fashioned traditions and expectations are changing anyway, so you might as well do something that you both love, do something that you're both really happy, really comfortable with. The goal isn't to push your dad into the spotlight unless he really wants to be there. It's about making room for him to participate in different ways that feel right for him, and you both celebrating that unique bond that you share on your terms. You still haven't written your vows yet, have you? Let me help. In around 20 minutes or so, you can easily write personalised wedding vows unlike anything you've heard before that will make your fiancé feel like the most loved, understood and appreciated person on the planet. The How to Write Wedding Vows That Don't Suck instant download 17-page PDF ebook walks you through a step-by-step format for your vows, how to find the right words and phrases to describe your feelings and your fiancé, how to write that crucial first draft, and create your final wedding vows masterpiece. So if you don't know how or even where to start, if you've been Googling your little heart out, or if you've been calling them wedding vows, AEIOU, this ebook is for you. Included in there are also some bonus secrets for getting the most out of your wedding ceremony. So make sure you download your copy right now and get Write Your Wedding Vows crossed off your to-do list today. The link is in the show notes. Okay. So different ways, alternative ways for your dad to make your wedding day meaningful and for you to share this amazing moment between the both of you. So if public speaking, giving a toast, dancing, walking you down the aisle and being the center of attention just isn't his bag, there are so many other creative and heartfelt ways that you can invite him into the celebration and make those memories that you'll both look back on without either of you feeling sick to the stomach about it, okay? And here are some special and personal options. So the first is with a creative dad. You can get really creative with wedding details. So if your dad is a bit artsy or a bit of a perfectionist, ask him if he'd like to help too, design or create something unique, like sketching or painting your wedding invitations, like creating the signage, drawing a portrait for your program, or even draw a little illustration that could be on signage. There are like limitless options with different ways to get creative around your wedding planning. Or you can build something together. So hands-on dads may love making something tangible, something practical, like building your ceremony arbour or your marriage certificate signing table. They can construct like an outdoor type photo booth, like a backdrop. They can make your ring box if they're handy with, anything. You can make a ring box out of anything. Or they can create a special backdrop for your ceremony. And then every time you and your guests see it, you'll think of his contribution, his steady presence and his thoughtfulness in making this wonderful physical, tangible thing. If your dad's a muso and you and dad share a love of music, then ask him to write or arrange a piece for your ceremony or at any point in your wedding, really. I guess the great thing about a ceremony is everyone sort of stops and pauses and listens. And so it's just a great opportunity to highlight something as special as that. But maybe it's something you walk down the aisle to. It could be an original song he's written, or even if he helps you choose the perfect song for your father-daughter moment. So you might not want to dance, but if you sway together privately for a verse and then bring everyone else on, it's a different way to go about the father-daughter dance moment. Alternatively, if your dad creates a playlist of his favourites to play during the reception, then that could bring him a lot of pride, a lot of joy as well. And for those dads who can design spaces, we can bring him in to help style the reception space, because dads who have a great eye for detail or love rolling up their sleeves, they can really help you to transform your venue. So he might enjoy picking out particular lights, special lights. He might be into the flower arranging. He might be helping with the table settings, the centerpieces. He might just like lugging stuff and have everyone else do the finicky, detail-orientated stuff. If he's handy in the slightest, then get him in to help. If he's handy, maybe he builds that custom bar, or he restores a beautiful piece of furniture to give your reception space a really special touch, like a beautiful old couch that is sanded back, that is lacquered, might be absolutely beautiful and a setting for photos for later on. And for those dads who are mad about their cars, their bikes, whatever they've got, then asking them to prepare a memorable getaway for you is really beautiful. So if you have a special family car, or there's a motorbike with a sidecar, that's always fun. You could ask your dad to help restore it, or he could restore it. You just look and give your ideas. He might just want to do it all on his own. You can do it as a joint project, or you can just leave him to it. You could just have a beautiful vehicle and dad can decorate it for your big entrance or your big exit. And it's the act of either working it out together or working on it together and seeing the finished product on the day that can be quite a moving tribute to your relationship. Other personal touches. So maybe your dad is better in writing, and maybe he can write you a little letter, a little note for the morning of the wedding. He could create a small keepsake for you, which could later be an heirloom, or help put together a slideshow of family memories to play at your rehearsal dinner or another event. These quieter acts of love are just as important as any public gesture. You will remember them. They are forever moments. So the key is to look for what lights your dad up, his hobbies, his strengths, the things he's really proud of or engaged in. And by inviting him to contribute in a way that feels right for him and for you, again, you're building this day that truly reflects your relationship. Strong, supportive, beautifully your own. Whether it's through art, music, crafts, or simply a private word by your side, it might just be him there at a certain moment squeezing your hand. His involvement will be felt and remembered long after the last dance. If you've got a creative way that your introvert dad made your big day extra special, I would love to hear your story. Make sure you DM me on Instagram at unbridely, or maybe share this episode with someone who's planning a wedding who needs just a little extra help. Until next time, celebrate your people, loudly or quietly. Chat soon. That about wraps it up for this episode of the Unbridely podcast. For the links and resources we mentioned, please head to the show notes. And if you love the show, please review and subscribe on the podcast platform you're on now so you don't miss out on a single episode. Thanks so much for listening. And remember, weddings are a team sport. Catch you soon.